All right. Well, let's get to our last team here. The British can wait. We're going to talk about the Steelers, which is probably going to take the next half an hour knowing Mike. So I want to really dive in here so that we can not be here for the rest of the day. The Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, they have a second-year QB in Kenny Pickett, looking to take a step forward. Hopefully, they have some rising stars in Pickens, and I'm not getting those confused, so I don't have to drink. Haha. And Najee, who I think should have a better year. But let's talk about Pickett first at the helm. I really want to know, Mike, you're the Stan here. You're the Pittsburgh Steelers guy. I am adverse to Kenny Pickett. I'm a little scared. I didn't see what I wanted to see last year from him. I know it was a rookie season. Tough to judge him on that, but his finish was pretty abysmal. And I want you to convince me on Kenny Pickett if you are in on him. Convince me.
All right. I'll just drink now because I'm going to go over 30 seconds. So, cheers, boys. Let's say that you are applying for a job and they tell you that you're not going to do your job for like 4 or 5 months. I don't even need you to worry about it. I just want you to learn the intricacies of the job. And then all of a sudden, it is the hardest part of the job. They fire the 2 people in front of you and they ask you to take the job and win. That's what happened to Kenny Pickett. He was taking third string reps all through training camp, all through mini camp. Nobody thought that he was going to be doing like what he ended up doing. In the fourth quarter, he showed the gusto and like the moxie and all of the things that you say with a quarterback that you want to root for. And then he is loaded with weapons around him. Quarterbacks take a big year 2 jump. He has the whole offseason to work with them. Like last year was truly his floor because it was the worst case scenario, the absolute worst case scenario. And he was still like a serviceable QB2 when you knew he was going to start. So if that's worst case scenario, like I trust him. He's not going to make the jump. He's not going to be like the Allen Mahomes tier. That's not in his range of outcomes. But college football did have to invent a rule to prevent fake sliding because he's that athletic and like bends the rules. So he has a little bit of rushing upside. He has a little bit of gusto. Steelers are going undefeated this year.
So I think you have to drink for that one.
Yeah, that last one was bad, but I think in the range of outcomes, the Steelers could go best case scenario like 14-3. That's best case scenario. I'm saying most likely is probably 11-6.
For the listeners at home, you're just seeing Eric and I just shake our head in bewilderment.
Do you guys hear the fireworks?
Yeah, I did. I heard that one.
They're
that was
in the
intense.
window.
That was intense.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask you this, Mike, before we move to Eric's take on this. Do you see Kenny Pickett as being able to finish as a QB1, like top 10, top 12 guy?
I could see it in a like Daniel Jones, Kirk Cousins kind of way. Like he either is elevated by the weapons around him like Kirk Cousins is with his, or he has the sneaky rushing upside that Daniel Jones has where he'll run for 80 yards and trip over his own feet, except Kenny won't trip. He'll just drop the ball with his baby hands. So I just think there are a couple of different ways that he can get there, but it is in the range of outcomes. I don't think it's likely. I think he's more like streamer for redraft or a solid QB2 because the Steelers are a loyal organization. Even if he sucks this year, the Steelers aren't getting rid of him. No matter, like I could be calling for him to get fired. No one cares in that organization. Like they kept Matt Canada for 2 years.
All right. Well, I want to take it back actually to last year when we were doing this podcast and Malik Willis was, I will admit it, both of Eric and I's QB1 going into that draft. And obviously
after the draft, did you change your mind?
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Okay. Because Eric still has Hendon Hooker over Anthony Richardson. So
well, we can talk about that.
That's still correct.
We can talk about that another time. But I do think that that's a drink for both me and Mike because Eric said something stupid.
That's not stupid. It's correct.
Cheers, Mike. But I want to know, Eric, because we obviously, we had our reasons, right, for having Malik Willis over Kenny Pickett. Obviously, we've adjusted since then, but where are you now on Kenny Pickett after he gets drafted out of the QBs first in that draft class, and then he has the year that he has on the Steelers? Where are you at?
I actually didn't think any of the quarterbacks last year were that great, and I thought the highest upside was Malik. And I thought if he went into the right spot, I believed in him.
We're in the same spot. Yeah.
And I was wrong. I don't think Malik can play football. But Kenny actually really impressed me last year. And I'm pretty high on him coming into this year. I've been trying to trade what I think are late firsts to high seconds to try to get Kenny on my team. And if I have him as my QB2, I am ecstatic. I am super happy because I think he's going to give you really solid points out of that super flex spot. If he's my QB1, I'm probably not feeling super great, but as my QB2, feeling really good. I think he's going to be the solid Pittsburgh starter for at least the next 2 to 3 years. And I like what he can give me out of that. I think in our startup league we're doing right now, I just took him 5th round, and I feel really good about that as my second QB behind Trevor Lawrence. Like, Lawrence Pickett is actually a combo I have in quite a few leagues, and I feel very happy about that. I think his value is boosted by being a Pittsburgh Steeler, because for whatever reason, he just feels like a Steeler. He's a tough.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Take a punch to the face. I'm a sling it anyway kind of guy. And if he was on a different team, I would actually probably be lower than him. He just feels like a Steeler. Feels like he fits the team. He has good weapons around him. I actually really like Kenny Pickett. And I told Mike this in a text earlier that Steelers are my sleeper team to be scary this year.
Heck yeah, they are.
Not 14-3. That's ridiculous.
I am on fantasyfootballcalculator.com, which is a well-known site that I definitely didn't just Google right now. I want to do an exercise right now that will kind of help our listeners understand like why you should draft quarterbacks earlier than ADP and like why you should kind of reach on them. Mm-hmm. Last year, Kenny Pickett, despite being the only first-round quarterback, went off the board at the consensus 202. I'm going to name some names in front of him, and I just want you to off the cuff say higher or lower. Like, would you like Kenny Pickett more than that guy? Then you say like Kenny is higher, or is Kenny lower than this guy?
You're talking 2 QB?
2 QB or super flex.
Okay.
Are you ready? Kenny Pickett or David Bell?
Higher.
Kenny Pickett. Higher, yeah.
Kenny Pickett or Damian Pierce?
Higher.
Kenny Pickett or Rashad White?
Higher.
Higher.
Jahan Dotson?
Higher.
Higher.
James Cook?
Higher.
Higher.
And Kenny Pickett didn't have a good year last year. Like, he didn't look great. Christian Watson?
Higher.
Higher.
Pickens?
Higher.
Sky Moore?
Higher.
Higher.
So we've already jumped half of a round, and this is where it starts to get hard. Chris Olave?
Higher.
Higher.
You would take Kenny Pickett more than Olave?
I would.
That's very close,
but I would.
Okay. Jameson Williams?
Higher.
I think I am taking JMO.
I'm taking Kenny.
I love you because Jameson hasn't done anything yet. Olave already finished top 24, but I was high on Jameson too, and he hasn't done anything to prove me wrong, so I'm still in.
That's exactly where I'm at.
Yep.
You don't know what you don't know.
Here's another easy one. 104 last year. The asthmatic Prince, Treylon Burks. Kenny Pickett or Burks?
Kenny higher.
Pickett.
Kenny Pickett or Kenneth Walker?
Walker.
Is that because of the Seahawks thing? And does Charbonnet scare you?
Hey, go Hawks. Drink.
Are we talking this year? Are we talking long?
Superflex Dynasty.
higher, but I'm really thinking about
It's Ken Walker for me. This team is so run heavy, and Ken Walker is so young and so athletic. He is going to be a top 10 RB for the next 5 years.
He wasn't even a top 10 RB last year.
He was injured for like 5 or 6 games. He had a
And
sports hernia,
injuries,
whatever.
injuries go away over
A
time.
hernia is a hernia. He's not going to have a repetitive hernia.
Can I explain my reasoning?
Yeah.
Running backs have such a short shelf life and they get replaced so quickly that I would rather take my bet on Kenny being a long-term answer than Walker being a short-term answer. And if I'm taking Walker as high as he should go, my team's probably not great where I need a running back.
Yeah. All I'll say, and I mean, the next one's Drake London, which higher or lower?
Lower. I'm taking London.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd probably take London.
London's 21. He's 21.
Yeah. No, I get it. I'm just saying Kenny Pickett was the 202 last year, and we have now 1 year later. He didn't look good. It's not like he set like rookie records like Herbert did. He looked medium at quarterback, and we're already talking about him as the 103 last year. So draft quarterbacks, folks. They don't lose value.
Yep.
No, that definitely makes sense. I am obviously the lowest on Kenny Pickett here, but he's still very, very valuable. I did take Kirk Cousins over him in a draft that we're doing right now. And that was hard to do, if I'm being honest with you. It was between them. But I took Kirk Cousins because I want to win now and maybe next year rather than have a middling Kenny Pickett on my team for years to come.
One more thing. First of all, thank you for taking Kurt over him because I took Cousins. Not Cousins. Sorry. I took Kenny. I
think you drink.
I do drink.
Drink.
So, Kenny. I'm super happy I could take him. So, Mike, I want your thoughts on this. So, it is a no QB, 2 Superflex league. Okay. So, you don't have to start a QB. And it is super high points for returns and kick returns. So all of my starting running backs, like Jonathan Taylor, sat on the bench while N'Keal Hines and other players started over them. Okay. I traded straight up Jonathan Taylor for Kenny Pickett, and I got ridiculed for it. What do you think about that?
With the benefit of all of the return yards, so you're saying like N'Keal Hines was regularly outscoring Jonathan Taylor? It makes sense because a quarterback's upside is going to be more than a generic running back in that format. Okay. The quarterback, I think I went back through and looked at it, like the quarterback 9 was about where like the RB2 was. So like it gives you a higher floor, it gives you a higher ceiling. I get it. I think that you probably could have gotten more given market value. But from a purely like this guy is going to score me more points for a longer period of time, it makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a great trade. I see that trade as being that seems very equal. What was that in a league I'm in?
That was Twin Blades.
Oh, really? I don't even remember that happening.
I think that's roasted about it. I'm like, have
totally
you all
fair trade to me?
Kick and punt returns in this? I'm like, I didn't even start Jonathan Taylor half the weeks.
For the way that league is set up, I feel like that is you are dead even at value.
Yeah.
To me.
And I had no second quarterback behind Lawrence. So I traded Jonathan Taylor, which I had plenty of kick return guys to plug in there to get Kenny Pickett. Now I have 2 Superflex quarterbacks to start. I'm like,
kind of a interesting segue just to return yards in general. I mean, all those leagues we're in with like massive return points. Are you at all a little nervous with how returns are different this year? And how more teams are just going to fair catch?
Yeah, if I had known that rule was coming, it might have changed it a little bit, but not.
I feel very grateful that I just decided on a whim to not build any of my teams in those leagues with like return guys, because I just didn't. And now I'm sitting pretty with like kind of none of those guys, and a lot of like my Barbarians team is just ridiculous. Like it's just, I don't know if I've shared that with you, Mike, but it's Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, Saquon Barkley as my 3 RBs, and AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, who else? CD Lamb, T Higgins, like just everyone you want.
I went the opposite way in Demons because it was the first league that I was in with return yards, and I was like, I know returners. I'm in on this. I'm ready. So I have Devin Duvernay, I have Nwangwu, I have Jalen Rager, I have Calvin. Like I have all of these returners, and then the news broke, and I was like, well, I just donated to RPG Demons, so hope you all enjoy that.
Yeah. Little known fact, I actually co-wrote that rule. I actually implemented the rule because all my dynasty teams had no return guys. And so I went to the NFL and I was like, let's do this. And they took my idea. So.
And Corey, I get that too, but I also ended up in the finals of Barbarians where my starting wide receivers were like Sims and Duvernay.
You ended up in the semifinals because the finals was me and Donnie.
Oh, you're right. That's right. Because Donnie built his team the same. It was all returners. We went returner to returner.
I mean, would have been great if you won it, but I won it. So
you did. But you also have a crazy stacked team. And with nothing but returners, I made my way to like the semifinals.
It's a pretty good team. And I'll admit I won that on a technicality because it was the Bills Bengals game that got canceled that would have decided me and Donnie's matchup. And Donnie and I just decided to split it, even though I definitely would have won, but that's c'est la vie. So moving on though. I mean, wow, we're deep in it. I know for a fact because we're still talking about the Steelers and we really only talked about Kenny Pickett, but it's been about 20 minutes. So do you want to go quickly through the rest of this stuff and then call it good? I mean, where should we start here? Pickens and Deontay is an interesting conversation, and I hate to keep gravitating towards Mike, but it is your team. So I do want to know, I mean, Pickens has the youth. He's had like those OBJ special catches. So, kind of in his favor. Deontay feels consistent, but he also like gets these weird injuries where it doesn't necessarily knock him out of the game, but he like goes off for a play or two and comes back. I don't know if it like really matters in the long term, but where do you have these two guys? Who would you rather have?
Yeah, I think at cost right now, I'd rather have Deontay Johnson. Like he's already been to a Pro Bowl. He's already been an over 100 target guy. Like he has displayed the ability to do it on a field, and people overrate how old he is. Like, let me just give this a quick Google. Johnson is 27. So he's still got and I think he just turned 27. So he's got 3 or 4 years left. 10 if he's on the Devontae Adams track. But when we talk about a receiver that has all of the separation ability, it's Deontay. When you talk about a receiver that has, like, for lack of a better term, that dog in him, it's George Pickens. So I think Johnson finishes higher for as long as he's on the team. But if you want to roll with the youth, like I think Pickens will be valuable for years to come. And last year was his first year off an ACL tear, which everyone just ignores for some reason, but he was a rookie off an ACL tear and had more yards than Deontay. So I love both for obvious reasons, but I think Johnson is the better one at cost. Pickens is the better one in a vacuum.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. Again, you guys are sort of like tag teaming, convincing me about Pickett. I don't have a lot of him because I wasn't in on him. So everything that flows through him via the Steelers, I don't have a ton of, but I do have more Pickens than Deontay. And I do like his swagger for sure. Eric, do you have a favorite out of these two? Are you in generally on the Steelers passing game?
I am in on the Steelers passing game. I think it depends where my team's at. If I'm going for the chip this year, I think I'm going Deontay. If I'm trying to build for the future, I think I'm going Pickens. I think that's where I'm kind of at with them because I think Pickens has a lot of upside. And the only reason he fell in the draft was because of off the field issues. We've heard nothing about that since he's been in the league. And so I think he's got a top end talent with character issues that have not shown themselves, which is always a good sign. If you were a rebuilding team, would you trade Deontay Johnson for Pickens straight up? Because I think I would.
Yes.
I think I would
Yeah.
do that.
Because
I would too.
Pickens' ADP right now is higher. And let's say that Deontay finishes wide receiver 2, Pickens finishes wide receiver 6. Like, should probably no, but realistically, like Deontay finishes like wide receiver 18, Pickens finishes like wide receiver 27, 28. Like, I think there's value to be had in both. And if you're rebuilding, like, go with the guy that's 5 years younger.
Yeah.
Well, I think besides those two guys, I want Najee personally. I really do think that offense is going to funnel through Najee. I've moved him up pretty significantly in my RB rankings fairly recently. I think I moved him all the way up to RB7. Even saying that is like, RB7. But I like him. I mean, he got an improved O-line. That offense should be decently paced. But yeah, I mean, I think we're all kind of up on Najee, but I want to know who has him highest because I think it might be Eric.
I want this to be the first place that this is stated that Najee Harris is the comeback player of the year this year in the NFL. I think Najee is a monster this year. Absolute beast. I'm talking top 5 overall fantasy RB this year. I've got him up in my top 5. I think I've got